up on the Make the Money and Run episode for May 20th, 2021. A lot of NBA playoffs to talk about. The play-in tournament. It's not a regular season statistical environment, nor is it a playoff environment. It's just a play-in. So basically, you're going to have three sets of statistics going on a Major League Baseball. Another ho-hum day in Major League Baseball with another no-hitter. That's two this week, by the way. And of course, the NHL playoffs are going along as well. Casey Freelove on assignment. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. He's Charlie O. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, May 20th, 2021. Charlie's going to carry me on the show today. So thank you, Charlie, for being here.
We are in huge trouble.
That's how you can get us. Make the Money and Run Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific, right here on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching us live right now. If you missed any of the live broadcasts, especially our pick segment, that's what we're here for. Download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud. Get to us on email, mtmarpodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter, and then each of us have individual social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a Make the Money and Run Facebook page as well, so we're easily accessible. We want to hear what you think about games. We're about 6 weeks into baseball. NBA playoffs are going to start this weekend. NHL playoffs have gotten started, even though the regular season wasn't officially completed until yesterday. Regular season games going on while teams are already in game 3 of the playoff series. So I guess Vancouver and Calgary just wanted to get their game checks to make the season end. We'll get to that in a little bit, but that's how you can get to hold of us. Like I said, with a full house tomorrow to preview all of the weekend games. Charlie, let's get to it. Let's get to the NBA. How about the games? Tuesday, you weren't with us on Monday, so let me get your take on the East series. First of all, Washington is 3.5 and 237 against Indiana. Winner gets the 8th seed and Philadelphia. Washington lost to Boston, who will be the 7th seed, and they get Brooklyn, the 8th seed. Now, follow me here. I know we've said this 1,000 times, but I'm getting confused every time I say it. Excuse me. The 7-8 winner automatically gets the 7th seed. They play the 2 seed. That's Boston in the East. They get Brooklyn. The loser of the 7-8 is Washington, or was Washington, and they get the winner of Indiana and Charlotte, which Indiana just completely trashed Charlotte out of the building. I couldn't believe how bad that defense was. I didn't even need to see the game to see how bad it was. 144 points. I thought Charlotte was going to come out and play a little bit better than that, Charlie, on Tuesday night. 262 points in total, well over the total. And Indiana cruised. They're the visiting team. They're going into Washington, D.C. as a 3.5-point underdog. 237 the total. I got a feeling it's going to be more than that tonight. We'll see. But winner gets the 8th seed and Philadelphia. Thoughts on the East, Charlie, as we move into the finals of the play-in?
Well, first of all, that Charlotte game, that was an embarrassment. You know, when you look at that game and you go, wow, I was watching it and I thought, people at the NBA have just got to be going, okay, this is it. Play-ins are over. We're not doing this because it was just terrible. Now, fortunately, the rest of the play-in games have been really good. But that was awful.
That was ugly.
I mean, I don't know what happened there. That team should be, I don't know, suspended for the first 5 games of next season. I don't know. It was terrible.
I don't know what to make of it, Charlie, because here's Charlotte over the weekend. They had a double-digit lead on the Knicks on Saturday. They lost that game in overtime. Knicks covered 5.5, so I was happy with that. Then they had a double-digit lead on Washington on Sunday, but the Wizards came back and won that game, and not only vaulted themselves into the play-in tournament from where they were in the depths of the dregs of the NBA Eastern Conference basketball, all the way up to the 8th seed, for crying out loud. I mean, Russell Westbrook's been a man possessed. Bradley Beal has finished second in the NBA in scoring, but what a games they had the last few weeks. That comeback on Sunday was unbelievable. And then here's Washington. Now they're a win away from getting in to play Philadelphia. And I think that's going to be a wild series. If Washington wins and they run up and down like that, I mean, they're going to have to figure out how to play defense. But if they get Philadelphia, that's Philadelphia. Boy, they got to be a little scared to have to face Russell Westbrook if he's playing like this. And Bradley Beal scoring the ball, and then Hachimura is playing well too. Davis Bertans can shoot the ball. I mean, they can all shoot. Their defense is very questionable, but then again, this is the NBA in 2021, whose defense isn't questionable. as we said all year, as example by the over-unders that are coming out on the Las Vegas board. I don't think if it's under 220 nowadays, you take a double look and go, what? Defense or bad play? In the Knicks case, it could be both, but that's the way it works. 219 last night on the Warriors Lakers game, and neither one of them could throw it in the ocean for about 5 or 6 minutes. And the Lakers played terrible. You know what? I know I live in the Bay Area, and I like the Lakers a lot as a kid growing up, and I like the Warriors a lot. But Charlie's phone's ringing. There you go.
I'm coming back.
Caller on line one. What did Larry do anyway? Yeah. So thanks to Robbie on Facebook. He's already sent a comment. Let's go. Great game, Warriors, Lakers. Nice job, Robbie. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Thanks for the note as well. You can reach us on Facebook and YouTube. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Washington, Indiana. I mean, I did not see the Indiana game. I didn't think it would be that bad, but I had also understood that there was a chance that Sabonis and Brogdon were not going to play in that game, and they still scored 144 points on Charlotte. So, I mean, I guess if that's the case, Charlotte, get your A's out because you're gone, and here you are. You got Washington and Indiana, which was a pretty good game in the regular season, and I think it's going to be a pretty good game tonight. I like Washington a lot in this game, Charlie, tonight.
Yeah, I do too. And Vasu, you know, I keep coming back. Chuck Barkley said, you know, a month ago, watch the Wizards. You know, he kept saying, if the Wizards get in, they are going to be dangerous. And I can, okay, you know me in the round mound to rebound. I like him, and I always listen to him, but I'm thinking, come on, Chuck, you know, the Wizards, they're in and out, and they just keep coming. They just keep coming. And now here we are. They are on the precipice of making it into the playoffs. And I got to tell you, if they make it in, Philadelphia can't be happy because they're going to be the Wizards are going to be there, and they're going to be, we're in. Okay, so we have to lose. We shouldn't be here. And those become the most dangerous kinds of teams to have to play because they're just so happy to be there. They're just going to go out and they're going to have fun because, hey, everybody's going to think we've overachieved anyway, so we might as well just go out and overachieve. And you know, those kind of teams get hard to pin down. And then if you get a team, you know, if the 76ers get somebody that tweaks an ankle or does something, silly things start to happen in the playoffs.
No doubt about it.
I got to tell you, if I'm the 76ers, I am rooting for the Pacers tonight because I would much rather face the Pacers than I would the Wizards. I really would, because Westbrook is the kind of guy that can lead a team to victories on his own.
Charlie, but he can shoot them out of a game too with that flat jump shot. If it's bad as well too, I mean, there's just ways to go. But I agree with you.
He hasn't been bad. That's the whole point.
No. The last 6 weeks, he's been one of the best players in the league, like he was. I mean, as Casey says all the time, get your game on, Brody. That's Casey's favorite phrase. He always loved Russell Westbrook, and I did too when he was in Oklahoma City. I mean, they went to finals, they went to 2 finals, 1 final, and they got there. So we'll see what happens. But Joel Embiid's still my MVP. He didn't play enough games, so he's not going to get the votes for the MVP. And the way Jokic has played for Denver, I still don't see a lot of love for Chris Paul. I know the votes were in. I tried to do some kind of straw poll on who the MVP is. So Washington, here's my take on this. And for these lower seeds that have been playing these last 10 games of the regular season, they're playing basically playoff games going into the season, going into the playoff season. Some of these other teams are cruising. The Lakers were cruising, and then all of a sudden they found themselves in the play-in game. And Utah and Phoenix with their injuries, and they were going back and forth. Donovan Mitchell will be ready to go this weekend. I have no doubt that he'll be back, and Mike Conley will be back as well for Utah. We'll get to the West in a second. Ben Simmons took a few games off Embiid. They load management him because he's had history with his feet and his injuries. So I get that if you're injured, but the teams that are dangerous, and now it's a 5-game series again when you get to the playoffs, teams that are dangerous are the teams that already are in playoff mode just to get to the playoffs, if that makes sense. They're already, if we don't win, we're down another game to get in the playoffs. If we lose here, we put ourselves behind the 8 ball, 2 games back now with 3 to go, that type of thing. So those are the dangerous teams. That's why in the NBA versus other teams. Charlie's got a side business going over here.
Hey, listen, nobody has wanted me all day long, and now everybody wants to talk to me here. I'm gonna fix this. We're gonna put on.
But anyway, to finish my thought on that is that they're in playoff mode the last 5 to 10 games of the year, so they've got the fierceness and the propensity to play like they are in a playoff mode, whereas the top teams are not. LeBron James said the other day that usually in a 7-game series or a 5-game series, you get the first 2 games to feel out each other. When you're in the play-in situation like this, or in a 5-game series, you don't have the luxury of a feeling out process, and these play-ins are obviously evident with it. Now, if you're 7 and 8, you have 2 chances. You have a double elimination versus 9-10. So we'll see where it goes. All right, let's move on to the West. Charlie O, Vasu, Vaddiparty here, the Make the Money and Run podcast. Thanks everybody, Facebook and YouTube as well. If you missed it, download, subscribe, and please pass it on to everybody. We appreciate it. The NBA play in the Western Conference yesterday. 2 good games yesterday. The line for the game tomorrow night, I think it's 9 o'clock Eastern, is Golden State at Chase Center, 3.5 over Memphis. And if you watch the Sunday game, this last Sunday versus Memphis, Memphis can play. They don't play defense, but then again, I don't need to sit here and spin the record again. Nobody plays defense in the NBA. I'm sorry. And we'll see who does when the playoffs roll around. 3.5 and 221. Memphis got off to a big start on Sunday in Chase Center. And then Golden State got on a roll. Steph Curry with his 46 points on 36 shots, by the way. 49 did he have on Sunday, or 46? Whatever it was incredible. It was like 1.3 points per shot. 9 of 22 from the field and 5 of 13 or something like that. Not great shooting, but he ended up with 49 points on 36 shots. So unbelievable. Steph Curry, and then Memphis came back and tied the game up back at 91, and then the Warriors go on a 13-2 run and close out that game towards the end. What do you see on Friday, Charlie? Here's Memphis. They had a big lead on San Antonio. San Antonio got back into the game. They were favored by 4.5 for our purposes, 4.5 or 5, depending on where your line was. They had a big lead to open the game, 18-4. And then here's San Antonio. Greg Popovich, DeMar DeRozan, all the veteran guys there, especially Popovich. I'm sure he coached his off to try and get them back in the game, because I don't think he wanted to go out like this in the play-in scenario. But geez, Charlie, the way they played, 4.5-point favorite Memphis, and then teams are going to go on a run, but you don't expect them to go on a run like that where they come back and actually have a chance to win the game at the end, because you have a double-digit lead. It got to 7 at the half. It got to 6 after 3. And here is San Antonio. They were a basket away, a made shot away from actually tying that game under a minute. I caught the end of that game, and it's just fascinating to me how San Antonio did that. Or was it more Memphis defense that just couldn't make stops or couldn't get stops?
It was both. I watched the last quarter and a half of that game, and first of all, you can't underestimate Pop and his team ever. It's the Spurs. That's a very experienced team with the most experienced coach in the league. And so if you underestimate the Spurs, you're going to go home a loser. And they were there. The Grizzlies weren't playing great defense. I thought it was so funny. They kept showing the crowd with those grit and grind T-shirts on, and I'm going, hey kids, those teams are gone. They've been gone for a while. But it got real close. When Rudy Gay popped that 3 in with under a minute to go in that game, I'm going, holy moly, they're going to lose this game. And Memphis was able to hold on. And it's not that Memphis can't win tomorrow night, but
they've beaten the full Golden State squad before, even during the championship run. It's not like they can't. They just don't play defense.
I know it's not that they can't, but I'm doubtful. Okay, I'm doubtful. Now I haven't put my money down yet, because I don't know who I don't know health. I don't know all of those kinds of things. It's way too early to wager at this point. But if you twisted my arm and said you got to do it right now, of course it would be the Warriors. But because I have to tell you, the Warriors played way too good last night. Now you can also say the Lakers played really bad last night. And
I'll get to that in a second. Go ahead.
Accurate in saying that as well. But the Warriors played really well last night, much better than they should have against that Lakers squad at full strength. So I think Memphis is in for a really rough time last night, especially given the fact that they had a much rougher game against the Spurs than they should have had.
And they've got to fly from Memphis all the way to Oakland, which
Exactly.
they're doing today. Or I'm sorry, San Francisco, right?
That makes it much tougher there.
Well, it's the playoffs, and you got to take all these factors into consideration. And you add the fact that we're in protocol still. You have to go through all that as well too. I'm not feeling sorry for NBA teams. They got their private jets and they do everything that they need to do. So it's not like they're exactly hurting to try and get from one place.
Yeah, but the time zone jumps and all that kind of stuff. That's things that you've got to take into account when you're wagering.
I think Memphis. Anybody on Facebook know? I think Memphis is in the Central Time Zone. His stuff on Facebook.
I know that Central Time Zone.
All right. Well, trying to draw interest here, Charlie. You don't have to answer every question. I'm trying to get people online with us here. All right, Vasu Vaddiparty having a moment here.
I give him an answer, and now he chides me. Listen to that. This is a broadcast partner.
Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O, the Make the Money and Run podcast every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. We got the NBA play-in scenarios. Let's get your takes a little bit on the playoff series. Let's start with the East here. Yeah, Miami and Milwaukee starting on Saturday, the 3-6, 4-5, with New York and Atlanta. If you had a nickel that you had futures odds on, if you thought the New York Knicks were going to make the playoffs, let alone have a home court series advantage as the number 4 seed, I mean, if Tom Thibodeau was not considered a good coach before then to take that New York Knicks team, are you kidding me? They're going to host the Atlanta Hawks on Saturday night or Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, whenever they're playing, as a 4 seed? Give me a break. And I would have told you, I'm going like, how many shots have you had? Where's your vaccine? What did they really inject into you, Charlie?
Oh, listen, I have to be the first guy to say, and I'm not afraid to say this because I'm a reporter. Okay. As a reporter, this doesn't make me an expert on anything, although I will give you opinions on everything because I'm also a commentator. Okay. Really and I said when the Knicks hired Thibodeau, I said, that is the stupidest hire in the NBA. Okay. Because he's the wrong coach for that team. Not that I don't like.
You're not saying he's a bad coach. You're just saying that's the wrong coach.
I said it was the wrong coach for that team. Man, was I wrong. Okay. And I still don't quite understand it because Thibodeau is not coaching that team the way he has typically coached, in my opinion. And hats off to him because unlike what he did when he went to Minnesota, he didn't seem to be able to adjust to that team in Minnesota. And I think that's why he didn't last there. But in New York, he seems to have looked at that team and been able to adjust his style to that team while yet molding them to his style as well. And wow, what a phenomenal story. What a turnaround. I mean, Julius Randle, hasn't everybody written him off? I mean, everybody had said this guy's going to be one of the all-time great busts in the NBA, and all of a sudden now we're going
MVP candidate.
What a flowering guy. Just took a while for him to come out, and I'm going, you liars! You never saw this, Stephen A. Smith. Shut up! Come on. We're all just shocked, and I'm happy for him. God love him. I don't want him to be Kwame Brown. Kwame, shut up. It's great. It's great. It's fantastic. But, Thibodeau, man, hats off, buddy. It's great.
Well, you got them to play defense. You got them to play defense. Emmanuel quickly has turned into a pretty good player. They've got Alfred Payton. They've got Randall there. I couldn't name all the Knicks guys because you didn't expect them. Derrick Rose is kind of rejuvenated a little bit there in New York. But they've got home court advantage against the Atlanta Hawks. Believe it or not, I cannot believe it. But here we are. It's typical 2020 season type stuff going on with the pandemic and everything. The New York Knicks are in the playoffs. Don't think that town is not going crazy. By the way, for people that don't understand, that's still a Knicks town. Even though the Nets are there in Brooklyn, that's still a Knicks town. And the fact that they're in the playoffs and they have a potential to play the Nets, and I guess they wouldn't play them in the next round, but they would play them in the conference. Can you imagine like a Lakers Clippers and a Knicks and Nets conference final to go to the NBA? Are you kidding me? Wow, that's unbelievable.
If you don't know New York, you got to understand that the Knicks are in New York. The Nets are in Brooklyn. Okay, there is a huge difference there. Okay, I mean, it's like if you know anything about California, the Giants are in San Francisco, the A's are in Oakland, the Dodgers are in Los Angeles. They can call them the LA Angels all they want. They're in Anaheim. Okay, so there are differences, and that's the difference there.
No doubt about it. All right, let's move on to the West here a little bit for the 3-6. We'll get more into detail and we'll break it all down tomorrow on with Casey on. The Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers, who had an incredible run down the stretch to end up in the sixth spot, are going to take on Denver. Denver with the MVP, likely MVP, in Jokic. Boy, they are injured though, Charlie. There's no Jamal Murray. There's no Monty Morris. They're just injured up and down. Michael Malone's done a great job. I know he's big. You're a big fan of his as well too. But here comes the Portland Trailblazers with Lillard and McCollum, and our friend Jim Cosmer said they didn't know what they were going to do for the last 4 years with McCollum and Lillard. They're going to go with this guard combination and then try and fit in pieces around him to go with that. And so far this year, their shooting's just better this year. That's the difference they have, because we've seen their games where they can shoot themselves out. I mean, anybody can do that, shoot themselves in or shoot themselves out. But Nurkic has come back and he's played well for Portland in the middle. They've got Norman Powell, who I really liked at Toronto. He's helped them quite a bit too. In fact, he started a few games when McCollum went down to injury. The Portland Trailblazers could be a problem going into the playoffs for the Denver Nuggets, who are not fully stacked with a roster. And then you look at the Clippers and Dallas, and you would think the Clippers. Dallas is very good offensively, and Luka Doncic, by the way, very close to getting a suspended technical foul. I can't believe that young kid, 21 years old, is talking to the officials like he's LeBron James or some of these veteran guys, and they're teeing him up. And if he's not on the court for the Dallas Mavericks because of being suspended for a game, I mean, injury aside and all this other stuff, Dallas Mavericks have no shot because they don't play defense either. See the theme I'm going with, Charlie? Break down the West for me. Bring me out of my coma. Bring me out of my non-defensive coma.
Well, I can't do that. It's the NBA, and there is no defense in the NBA. If you notice that, there is no D in the NBA. That Denver Nuggets, the Portland Denver thing. Yeah, I think Portland's going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem because they can score. But you got to remember my bromance. Okay. Yep. And one, there's my bromance. And I first of all, we all thought Denver was just going to crumble with all of those injuries, and they didn't. And the other thing is that Michael Malone is a guy who can coach defense. And I still believe that defense can have a major factor in playoffs. And I think that you're going to see the Nuggets play more defense. Now, I'm not going to say lockdown defense because I don't think anybody plays lockdown defense.
I'm going to key to that lock.
No, somebody threw the lock in the Pacific Ocean and it's at the bottom of Davy Jones' lock. But I think you're going to see them play tougher defense, and I think that's going to be a problem for Portland. I don't. Don't get me wrong.
Injured though, Charlie. They're injured though. Who's going to guard Lillard? Who's going to guard McCollum? Or you let Lillard and McCollum score and you shut everybody else down, I guess.
I think you let one of them score.
Okay.
I think you let one of them. I think that will be the Malone philosophy. I think you pick the one you want to score. You're going to let score. You shut the other one down, and I think that's how they'll win. Okay. You can't. You're right. You can't shut both of them down. You decide which one you're going to let score. You shut the other one down, and that's how you beat them.
What do you think about the Clippers in Dallas? You think this is a Clipper? I'm not sold on the Clippers. They lose games that they shouldn't be losing. Our point spread records can tell us that based on how they played all year. Dallas is not bad. I mean, they don't like I said, but the Clippers, 50% or more of their field goal attempts are 3-point shots. If they have a bad night or bad 2 games, you could be down in that series. Dallas can win. They're capable of winning. And that 4-5 matchup to go in against Utah, that's not easy to go in against Utah if Utah gets by their first round series against the number 8 seed, whoever that is, either the Warriors or the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow night. But we'll see. But speaking of that, by the way, the Warriors could if they win, they have a good shot of beating Utah too. They've beaten Utah twice already this year in Oracle, and they got blown out the other time. But no Mitchell and no Conley in those games that they played in the last couple of weeks. But we'll get to that as well, too. All right, let's hit the NHL playoffs here just for a second. just want to talk about the lines are coming up right here. The Tampa Bay Rays, my Eastern Conference crush, the Tampa Bay Rays. I have some affiliation in St. Petersburg. They're $1.30 favorite, which is kind of low considering the Florida Panthers are the 4 seed in that division. Those that know how the hockey playoffs went.
You mean the Lightning? You don't mean the
Lightning.
Hello? Hello?
I'm here, Florida Panthers. Tampa Bay, yeah, some affiliation I just showed myself there. Tampa Bay Lightning, minus 130. I didn't say Buccaneers at least, Charlie. Tampa Bay minus 130. 5.5. Tampa Bay with a 2 games to none series lead. Both those games were won on road ice, which is very hard to do in the NHL playoffs. We don't talk a lot of hockey, but the fact that Tampa Bay has impressed me so much to win 2 road games in Florida, it's not an easy place to play in Miami. Panthers have good goaltending and everything that goes with that. The Islanders and Penguins are tied at 1-1, 2 great games. Toronto has their game 1 tonight, believe it or not. Game 1 of their series, 5 days into the playoffs. They get Montreal. I really like Toronto in the East as well, too. Minnesota and Las Vegas, what a great game they had. The game 1-0 overtime. And then Las Vegas comes back and beats them 2 nights ago, 3-1 over Minnesota to tie that series at 1. So those are the 3 games today. Charlie, 3 game 1s for the first time ever. It's talking to a couple of hockey guys on Tuesday night. 3 game 1s have gone into overtime in this NHL playoffs for the first time ever, Charlie.
Vasu, I got to be honest with you. Hockey to me right now, it's too hard to find.
It is too hard to
find. And so we were talking before we went on, before we started the stream, and I just have to tell you that I think it's going to be very interesting to see how hockey and hockey wagering changes. Is it next season when the contracts change, the TV contracts? I think it is. Yeah, I think it's next season.
Year 2020, 2021, 2022. By the way, NBC's done a great job in promoting it, considering they're losing the TV contract.
That when it goes to ESPN and to TNT, that it'll be interesting to see how wagering changes when people can actually find hockey. And that's not to say that NBC hasn't done a good job covering it. I've watched some of their broadcasts when I can remember to find them. But it's just so hard to find.
Yes.
It's like finding an MLS game.
How about every year in March when people call me and go, "Where's True TV?"
Yeah, I can find a Premier League game every Saturday morning on my TV, but Major League Soccer, where the heck is that? I don't know. Is it? I don't know where it is. So when you can't find it, it loses interest.
No doubt about
it. I can find the Sharks game. I know where the Sharks game is, and the Sharks haven't been that interesting. So frankly, you watch what you can find.
Yeah, and Blackhawks are out of it too, so I haven't really watched that much, and I'm all into the baseball right now as well too. I find the playoffs very fascinating because the overtimes are a lot different. It's not the shootout, and when you get into an overtime game or a late third period game, and anything can happen just like that.
The only thing I can tell you about the playoffs is I'm rooting against Las Vegas because I'm still just angry because they gave Las Vegas such a leg up as an expansion team coming in that they've never given any other team in any other league coming in, and they've let them become this premier team without having to earn their way in. And if the Golden Knights never win another hockey game, it would make me happy because they haven't earned what they've gotten. So lose. Well,
what are they going to do? I mean, those are the rules. And what's Seattle going to do? They're probably going to get the same advantage next year with the.
And it's not right. It's not right. I suffered through years. I'm still suffering with the Sharks because they've had to try to earn their way in. It's not right. Okay.
No doubt about it.
I'm going to
Vaddiparty. I'm going to get Vaddiparty. Charlie O here. Casey Freelove on assignment. He'll be back with us tomorrow. Make the Money and Run Monday, Thursday, Friday, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific, right here on Facebook and YouTube. If If you missed any of it, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud. Thanks to Facebook and the comments that we've gotten. Robbie and Deirdre. Deirdre's a big fan of Joe Thornton. She's a big Sharks fan. And so if anything about hockey, she wants Joe Thornton to win the Stanley Cup because he deserves one as well as anybody in the league. And that's one thing that I think we can all agree on. Joe Thornton, a really good guy, great community man right here in the Bay Area where I live. We'll take 30 seconds. Let me give you the scores updates. There's already been baseball going on. Yankees have a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the ninth over the Rangers. Another no-hitter thrown yesterday by Corey Kluber. 6 no-hitters. We'll get to that after the break. Cubs 5-2 in the seventh over the Nationals. The Astros 3-2 over the A's in the top of the fourth inning. And the Twins and Angels are playing a doubleheader. That ought to be fun to watch that ball get thrown around the field by all the errors that are committed by both teams. 1-1 in the second inning, game one of a doubleheader. Game two a little later. And then a final score, 2 final scores actually, big final scores. The Giants put up 19 runs on the Cincinnati Reds. They get a 4-game sweep. I can't even remember the last time that this happened, if it ever happened, that they had a 4-game sweep in Cincinnati, 19-4. Johnny Cueto, the ex-Red, threw innings. We'll get to the details on that. And then Tampa Bay, who has won 8 in a row now, in second place in the American League East, 10-1 over the Orioles. They sweep Baltimore in that series as well, too. So 2 finals. 4 games left in progress, and then the night stuff that we'll have our picks on as well. Don't miss our pick segment at the end of the show. That's where we make the money and run. We'll talk more baseball in 30 seconds. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, May 20th, 2021. See you in 30. Oh, hi, everyone. Vasu, Vaddiparty, Charlie O back with you on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Thursday, May 20th, 2021. Casey on assignment. He'll be back with us tomorrow. As I said, you get us Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays at this time, 4:15 Eastern, Facebook and YouTube. If you miss any of the live broadcasts, especially our pick segment, download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify seem to be the best place to get it. Also, SoundCloud as well, too. All right, Charlie, let's move on to baseball here a little bit. We've dissected the NBA. We talked a little hockey. Let's get to the NL series that we have left. As we said, some of the updates, the Cubs are beating the Nationals 5-2. The other National League game that was played was the Giants 19-4 over the Reds. They get 9 runs in the third inning. Steven Duggar, who couldn't hit his way out of a box last year, hit a grand slam. 9-run third inning, a 4-run fifth, a 4-run seventh, and then single runs in the ninth and the first inning. 19 runs on 16 hits. The Reds get 4 runs on 10 hits. How about the Giants, Charlie? We were talking about baseball teams that are surprised. The Bay Area, in and of itself, I don't think the A's have even played to their potential yet. And the A's are in first place with the best record in the American League. And here are the Giants at 28-16. They're a game up on San Diego. They're 2.5 up on the Dodgers. Their run differential isn't that great. It's plus 57. They've had some blowouts, but they won 5 in a row, and they're 8 out of the last 10. And now they come home to face those Los Angeles Dodgers this weekend at Oracle Park. And what a scene that's going to be. Trevor Bauer going up against Alex Wood tomorrow night, who's 5-0 with an ERA of sub-2. I think it's like 1.75 or something like that. So let's talk about that series. Obviously, that's a big series this weekend. But how about the Giants? Surprising offense. They don't hit very well. They hit in the clutch, and they're hitting with power this year. And he's got a platoon lineup. Talking about Gabe Kapler, he calls it a line change like hockey because he's got 4 right-handed hitters, and then he'll pop in 4 left-handed hitters when they make situational moves in the bullpen. That might hurt him. I don't know how long that's going to be. That might hurt him later in the year when he needs another right-hander or left-hander in a certain situation. But how about those San Francisco Giants, Charlie?
Well, Vasu, it's really crazy. Let's talk about this game for a second, and I'll tell you exactly everything you need to know about this game today. Yastrzemski, who was the leadoff guy, he walked 3 times and scored 3 runs. Okay, that's it. That's all you need to know about the game. When your leadoff man walks 3 times and scores 3 runs, you're going to lose. And they, of course, were in the bandbox that is the Great American Ballpark. And I was just trying to check. I think they had 6 home runs. Is that right? 5 or 6 home runs.
Yeah, I turned it off at 10-1 because, you know why I turned it off at 10-1? Because I already won the over after the third inning. I turned it off. I went back to sleep. I had a little infusion of adult beverages last night, so I went back to sleep, prepping for the show, thinking of how I was going to do the show today. And once it went 10-1, I was like, all right, it's over. I'm done. I'll just wait for the next game to come on. Wait for
well, that is just crazy stuff. I mean, that's what you got to do when you get into part of what you do as a team is you have to take advantage of ballparks. Right. And, Great American Ballpark is a ballpark where you can power your way to a win. And they took advantage of it. Pitchers were giving them the opportunity to make power work for them. They made the power work. If you can get people on base and then hit for power, that's the ballpark. And so that's making it work. And the Reds, as if you remember me talking about it at the beginning of the season, everybody's going, "Oh, the Reds!" Oh,
plus 30, right? Yeah.
What did I tell you? The Reds are going to fall back and become, a 500 to just under 500 team. And where are they? It's exactly where they were.
23 after the game today. They're only 5.5 back, though. It's good race in the Central. The Cardinals, Cubs.
They're still building. They're still having to build up. They're not a team who's there yet. They're coming back. They're building a good organization. Things are coming up. They've got a strong minor league organization that's building back up, but they're not there yet. So, that's not there. And the Giants are taking advantage of it. And the Giants, and it's good for the Bay Area. It's good for Bay Area baseball for both the Giants and A's to do well. I think when the Bay Bridge Series games comes up, I think it'll be raucous.
Outstanding this year.
And that'll be good. But Giants Dodgers this week, for those of you across the country who don't know, the Giants and Dodgers traditionally have been a hate relationship. Although it's interesting for Dodgers fans, the Padres-Dodgers series is becoming almost as equally as full of angst as it is with the Giants, because the Padres are now a team that is full of competition for them as well.
There's no doubt about it, but I think the Padres are still not there. There's something about the Padres that I just don't like, and I told everybody the Giants are going to be right there. They can play with San Diego. We didn't think that anybody could play with the Dodgers, and we're not so sure about that anymore based on how the season's going. But once they get healthy, and of course they signed Albert Pujols, big experience on the bench, going into the Dodgers system now, and the fact that he's there can help those young players and help Bellinger rehabilitate a little bit. Gavin Lux is at short for Corey Seager right now. They've got the day off. They don't have the day off. They're playing. They have a bullpen game going tonight. They moved Bauer from today against Arizona to tomorrow so that he can pitch against San Francisco and Alex Wood. And their starters are unbelievable. One other thing about the Giants and the Reds today is that the Giants defense is outstanding. And if you're a pitcher, and take my word on this, and not any high level for me, but enough to know that if you're in rhythm as a pitcher and your defense is playing behind you and you're not walking guys, the defense gets a lot of credit for the pitchers having success this year. And a lot of people talked about it. I know they were worried about it internally in spring training, but they've come out and they've played defense this year. They've got their little yips here and there. I mean, they're not the greatest range defenders, but Crawford's still there, Belt's still there, Posey's still there, Steven Duggar can go get anything in center field. Austin Slater's turned into a really good defensive outfielder as well too. Buster Posey, obviously behind the plate, having an MVP year hitting the ball. That 3-run double he had yesterday's game that broke them at a 1-0 game to 4-0, made it a little bit easier for that bottom of the ninth inning to take place. So it'll be interesting. By the way, one note on the Great American Ballpark. Believe it or not, Charlie, since 2003 when that ballpark opened, I heard this morning, the Great American Ballpark has yielded the most home runs, including Colorado, in 18 years that ballpark's been open. Colorado's even fourth on the list. Baltimore is second. It's a great place to hit in Baltimore for those that have seen Camden Yards. I forgot who third was, but the Rockies are not first. They are fourth on that list of most home runs allowed in since 2003. How about that? The Great American Ballpark leading the stats in something.
Have you ever been there?
I have not, no.
Being from Dayton, my dad loved baseball. And every year when I would go back to see them, one of his big things was I would take him to a game. And I took him several times to Great American Ballpark. And man, I'm telling you, that ball flies out of that park. It is absolutely unbelievable. Now, part of it is weather, but it also sits right on the river there in Cincinnati as well. So you have all the the weather conditions and humidity and all that stuff that affects things.
Oh, it was 85 degrees and hot today.
Yeah. So you have all the atmospheric conditions to add into everything, and then it's a small park. Because I'm old, they built that park to mirror a lot of things of the old Crosley Field,
yeah,
which I was where I saw my first major league game, and that park was the same way. Balls used to just fly out of there, and they built it to mirror old Crosley Park because the ball flies out of there. It is unreal. I mean, it just they hit that thing and it's gone. The first time I saw a home run hit there, they hit it into right field. I forget who hit it, but they hit it to right field, and I was just going, okay, that went out of here way too fast. Of course, that's after having spent so many years watching balls at the Coliseum in Oakland, where it seems like it takes an hour and a half for the ball to fly over the pit.
So, not to mention all the foul ball outs that there were in Oakland as well. All right, I didn't put the pictures up for the Diamondbacks and Dodgers as we get to the National League game because the Dodgers are going to go to a bullpen game. Not a bad guy to open as a quote unquote bullpen guy. David Price going to get the start tonight, probably for one inning. I still think he's their closer. I still think he's their best chance of closer right now because their bullpen is struggling. And Merrill Kelly,
absolutely,
Merrill Kelly will be the starter for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Were struggling. They were playing well for a while. They were second in the league in runs scored. And then the last 2 weeks, they've gone into a big-time slump. They're now 10 games back in the division. They've lost 4 in a row. Bumgarner's throwing okay now, and they're hitting the ball still, but they just don't catch the ball and don't pitch the ball well enough. So let's look at the NL slate tonight. Manny Velasquez against Alcantara for Miami. Trevor Rogers 6-1 now, or 6-2 now, 1.76 ERA. They beat the Phillies 3-1. Atlanta $1.95 and 9 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Drew Smyly and Will Crow. The Dodgers, as we said, David Price, Merrill Kelly to 180, 8.5 in Dodger Stadium. Be careful with that over/under. Arizona not hitting the ball as well, and at night the ball does not fly at Dodger Stadium. But the Dodgers are starting to turn it around a little bit. They are on a 3-game winning streak right now, looking for 4 against Arizona. They're 8 of their last 10. The Padres are 9 of their last 10, and the Giants are 8 of their last 10 as well. So the top of the division in the West looking great. What stands out to you, Charlie O, in the National League today?
Watch the Dodgers, Braves. That's probably a good bet there because the Pirates all of a sudden are becoming who we thought they would. I'm sorry, Pirates fans. We really had some hope there for a minute. And
are they going to get to 59 wins? Are they going to get to 59 and a half?
Gosh, man, I hope so. I want it so bad. I love Pirates. Pirates fans, I love you. Your Pittsburgh fans are such good fans. I just hurt for you. I just hurt for you.
By the way, I have been to that stadium, and that stadium is just gorgeous on the rivers. Of course, I like water too, so anything on the water just blows me away. So Pirates, Braves, be interesting to see what if the Braves offense has been going through it a little bit. They came back in comeback fashion last night on the Mets to avoid the sweep of the Mets. By the way, Kevin Pillar definitely on the injured list after getting. Did you see his press conference the other day with him with the stitches in his nose? For those that don't know, Kevin Pillar got hit in the nose with a fastball with the bases loaded. Tough way to get an RBI, but it helped the Mets in that sense win the game, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Braves, and the Mets are starting to play better a little bit. They have an off day today, but Kevin Pillar, the stitches that he had looked like the way they did it looked like the seams of a baseball. The only thing that was missing was Rob Manfred's signature on there. And he did nasal fractures up and down. If you haven't seen the highlight, if you're not squeamish, go see the highlight because guys are throwing too high inside. That's another topic for another day, but pitchers don't know how to pitch inside now, and they're going shoulders up, and they're not being taught well, and that's just the bad luck for Kevin Pillar, who did not turn away from it. He turned into it. I guess that's your natural reaction is to turn into it, but That's just too bad for him because he's a fun player to watch, and the Mets are having a pretty good year. Jacob deGrom doesn't get any runs on that team, but they're a pretty good team to watch. So Philadelphia and Miami tonight. Miami, the only team in that division with a plus run differential of 0. Everybody else is negative. Atlanta $1.95 with Drew Smiley and Will Crowe, as we said, and then the Dodgers 180. Of course, I'll be interested in the Dodgers game tonight, heading up to Oracle this weekend to celebrate and to work. Maybe I should say work and celebrate in case my bosses are listening to me first.
I think you started celebrating last night. I think that's part of the problem.
Well, we are getting old, so I figure I might as well see how old I can get. So, by the way, Fireball's still very tasty going down. Not very good coming back up. I just want people to know that.
I got to start getting you drinking something.
No, I want to get a sponsorship here because I've invested enough in that company. I want a sponsorship from Fireball. Let's go. Get on it. Let's get our marketing people on this. Let's go. Fireball, come in, sponsor, make the money and run. People gamble and people wager when they're drinking. Perfect tie-in. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Simply enough for the National League right now. Let's go to the American League. Let's go to the American League games. Let me give you the updates on the games here at the American League games. Astros have come back from 1-0 down. They're at 5-2 in the top of the fifth. The Angels in game 1 of a doubleheader, 4-1 over Minnesota. That is Alex Cobb, the former Ray and Baltimore Oriole, throwing there. Those are the only 2 games going right now. The 3 finals we have. The Reds lose to the Giants 19-4. We mentioned that. Tampa Bay has won 8 in a row, Charlie. I think that's right. 7 in a row. They won 7 in a row on the updated standings. They're 26-19. Half a game back of Boston, who was pleasantly surprised at how good Boston's become. They can hit. I'm not sure the pitching's going to hold up. The Yankees are 1 game back. They just finished taking the series from Texas. 2 games to did they sweep them? I don't remember if they swept them, but they just won 2-0. 2-0 today. Domingo Germán over Dane Dunning. Yankees are 25-19. They're 7 of their last 10. The Toronto Blue Jays went from second place 2 days ago to 4th place, but they're only half a game back of the Yankees, and they're plus 40 in run differential. There's nobody hotter on the baseball planet right now than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He is just mashing the ball, kind of like his dad did years ago. But him and Bichette and Biggio, sons of former ball players, even though they may be young in age, the experience of being around the ballpark has certainly helped them. And they're going to go back, and mark my words on this, and we'll talk about it next week for sure. When they get back to Buffalo on June 1st, they leave their spring training stadium, that Buffalo field gives up a lot more runs than even the spring training site does. Look for the totals on the Toronto Blue Jays and start taking the over on the Toronto Blue Jays because they can mash. They've got players, and they're pitching so-so. Ryu's having a good year. Steven Matt's got off to a good year. Bullpen's a little shaky like most teams are, unless you have an Aroldis Chapman or somebody like that. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to be a factor in this race in the American League. The White Sox have won 7 out of 8, plus 73, Charlie, in their run differential, 26-16 in the Central Division, 2.5 up on Cleveland. Kansas City, my friend Deirdre, who we just saw on Facebook, she's going to the Royals-Tigers game on Sunday with her dad for the first time, so hopefully they'll have a good time on that, even though it is Royals-Tigers. Sorry, Madero's family. But anyway, and Minnesota throwing the ball around like they're little leaguers, Charlie. Have you watched the Twins play defense this year? This is not a 14-27 team. Their pitching's not great. I get it. But what we said exactly about the Giants defense and the rhythm that the starting pitchers are in, the Minnesota Twins are not. All you got to do is go back to the series in Oakland when they made those errors in that day game and allowed the A's to come back with 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth. It's just unbelievable to me, Charlie. The Minnesota Twins are not this bad, and yet here they are.
Well, first of all, Vasu, I don't like to see people lose their jobs, okay? But it's time to change managers there. I mean, you can't fire the team. So obviously there's something wrong with this team at this point, because you're right. This is not a 14-27 team. So at this point, you got to make a change there. Sorry, Rocco, you got a goal. Yeah. And you got to get somebody else in there before it becomes so irreparable that you can't do anything. Because this is not who that team should be. So bye-bye, bud. I'm sorry. It's just not going to work. Because if they don't make a change soon, there's no chance for them to turn it around. I mean, they're already 11.5 out.
Right.
So
8 in their last 10, minus 32 run differential. With that power and those bats that they have, Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson, even Kepler's hit a couple of home runs recently. They did have a comeback win against the A's over the weekend, and they did come back on the White Sox the other night. But boy, that team is just throwing the ball around. Arias is not a good second baseman. Donaldson, who is a Gold Glover, has made errors too. Polanco at shortstop. Polanco's at second. Anderson Simmons is still pretty good, but he's making errors there too. And their base running is horrendous as well too. And I just don't know what to make of the Minnesota Twins right now. To me, that's the big surprise is how bad they are. But you can see what the net results are for the Twins. The White Sox, we thought the White Sox were going to be good anyway coming into the year, and they're proving that right now. You look at American.
Wait, just quickly on the White. How are we doing on time? Okay, I'll be quick. The White Sox. People, shut up about Tony La Russa.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I know he's had a few gaffes. The guy's been out of the game for a little while, and I don't want to hear any more about his age. He's only like 4 years older than Dusty Baker. Now, Dusty Baker's had a little more continuity of being in the dugout. But, look at this. They're 26 and 16. They've got a plus 73 run differential. Right. He's doing fine.
Yeah.
He's doing fine. Okay. Yeah, he's doing a little old school stuff. He's 76 years old. What did you think he was going to do? Okay. Until they're the Minnesota Twins, shut up.
Yeah, they're going to be good, and they're going to be a problem for a lot of people. And Hendricks signed as a free agent as their closer. He's done well with them. Cleveland playing a little bit better than I thought we thought that they would be doing right now. They're 23 and 18, 2.5. Those White Sox Indian series have become maybe not Dodgers Giants or Yankees Mets or Yankees Red Sox, but White Sox Indians are a pretty good series every time they play each other, and it's turned out to be pretty good. Kansas City has won 2 in a row. They beat the Brewers for crying out loud the last 2 days, so we know that Kansas City has some talent. They're only 6 back. I mean, 6 back on May 20th is not that far back.
No.
We've seen it happen before. White Sox have to go into a big tailspin for them to lose that kind of lead. And then Detroit, Minnesota, 9.5. I mean, you're behind the Detroit Tigers, Minnesota Twins. That's all we need to say about that. The Oakland A's, 26 and 18. The Astros, 25 and 18. We just gave you the score. Tampa Bay has 26 wins. Boston has 26 wins. The White Sox has 26 wins. The best records in baseball right now are the Oakland A's. They're minus 14 in run differential too, Charlie. How are they doing this? Because let's go with what they don't do well. Their bullpen's not very good. 2 of their starters are very questionable when it comes to the betting lines. I know you want to win 3 out of 5 to get the division. 600 baseball is 3 out of 5 for those that don't get the math part of it. But Montas and Luzardo, but that means your other starters have to go undefeated because Montas and Luzardo are not your 2 guys, and that's not going to happen. And then they didn't have Rosenthal at the beginning of the year. Their offense is strong. Like Matt Olson's not hitting very well. He hit a home run a couple of days ago, last week in Boston. Matt Chapman's not having a great start. Elvis Andrus was hitting under 200 until he got into a hot streak recently. And then Laureano got kicked out of a game. They're not. I mean, Charlie? This is the Oakland A's. You see them every day. What's going on in Oakland that they have 26 wins?
Vasu, and they did this last year too. Let me give you the other anomaly about this team. They are 14 and 12 at home.
Right.
They are 12 and 6 on the road. This is a team that, in fact, I think this is the 3rd year in a row where they've done this, if I remember right. They play better on the road than they do at home. And that ballpark is built for them at home because they've got that incredible foul territory because it's the last multi-purpose stadium that any major league team plays in.
Not for long.
What's that?
I said not for long, but that's a different story.
Okay, you're really trying to rev me up now, aren't you? That's wrong. That is wrong.
Right at 53 minutes in the show, I figured I'd wait till the last part of it.
Okay, so but you know what? And I hate to use this term because it's so nebulous and you can't quantify it. And I know in today's sabermetrics, this is absolutely wrong to do this. You know what this team does? They hustle. They hustle and they don't give up. This team, I don't think it was last night. I think it was the night before. They were down 5-4. They came back, tied it up 5-5, went to the 10th, won 6-5. They just don't give up. They don't get it that when they're down, they're not supposed to win. They keep fighting every percentage in baseball that, when you're down late in the game, you're supposed to lose. And I'm telling you, it's a reflection of Bob Melvin. because Bob
Oh,
Melton
yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah.
keeps that team loose. He doesn't yell at those guys. They love him, and he just keeps saying, "Come on, fellas, I'm going to make some moves. We're going to keep things going. You know you can hit. You can keep things together." And they just don't believe they're going to lose. And it's so dumb. I mean, they're in first place.
They're not losing. I know they're not losing. They're 26 and 18.
With a minus 14 run differential. That's just wrong.
Well, check out the NL East. Check out the NL East. That's not good baseball in the NL East, but that's pretty much the case there too. All right, before we get to our picks segment, which we're still looking for a sponsor for anyway, still. So come on, Fireball, step up to the plate here for that in honor of my birthday tomorrow. Let's fire it up here. Okay, I want to shout out Stables Media. We're powered by Stables Media. Didn't mention that at the beginning. Freedom to Rock, Joe Madden, Lisa Diaz, Kenny Parsons, Hustle and Grind Show. If you want the good handicapping and a lot more hockey talk, they're Canadian. They're on Monday nights, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, right here on the Stables Media page.
They understand hockey.
And they understand hockey. And then they're doing a daily show as well too for about 10 minutes where they'll give you a couple of picks. You can subscribe to them. Also got a shout out Vinny G, Vince Churchello. He's on Freedom to Rock with Tony Russo, our powerful leader here, our provincial leader, I should say, not powerful leader, but our provincial leader, Tony Russo. Vince has a new band and new music coming out in the next few weeks. We're going to promote. His band name is called the Skinny Mulligans, and that's his email address. And if you see Vince Churchello, you'll understand why he's a Skinny Mulligan, and you'll get that. By the way, he's very funny. If you ever get a chance to meet him or talk to him on his show or send him comments, he is very funny. He's got a dry sense of humor. So Skinny Mulligans, look for their music to come out. Check out his Facebook page and the Stables Media Facebook page too. And he's also on with Glenn Morrell on Sundays for the Sunday Spin. So check out Stables Media. We got a lot of shows going on. By June 30th, we're going to have a lot more shows, and we'll get the website all tightened up, and everything will be good. All right, let's get to picks now. Let's get to our unsponsored picks. We're going to start with Charlie.
Come on, step up.
Go ahead, Charlie, with picks.
All right, here we go. I went early for a baseball game, and I went totals on this, and day game in Chicago. To take an under, you're going, was he nuts?
Because you're going to win it. It's 5-2 in the bottom of the 8th for the Cubs.
I went under 10.5, and I'm going to tell you, everybody laughs at me because they always call me Charlie O, the weatherman. But I looked at the weather before I picked this, and it was hot. I think it's like 81 degrees, but the wind is only 6 miles per hour today with gust up to 12. And so you always look at the weather in Chicago. And, if that wind had been 12, 14 with gust up to 25, I'm going over. Not today. The wind was low, so going under, and I'm going to win. So there you go. Boston and Toronto, I'm going over the 9.5. Why? Because they're in the bandbox down there in Florida tonight, and I just the numbers and how they've been scoring and everything else. And then Indiana versus Washington. I'm playing this. I'm not wild about the numbers offered in this game, but I think Washington's going to win. So I'm just going to go money line minus 165. I am convinced that the Wizards are going to win. You can look at the spreads and totals. I just wasn't thrilled by those numbers.
I like it. Washington 3.5 in the NBA for me. The Philadelphia Phillies minus 120 against the Miami Marlins tonight with Vinny Velasquez, Tony Bruno's favorite guy to say. It's name to say. Tampa Bay Lightning 2-up in their series on the road. They've won both their games. They're at home against Florida tonight, 135 money line. And Toronto, who I really like in the East, minus 210. They're game one, 4 days into the playoffs. This is their game one against the Montreal Canadiens. Okay, you catch us every Monday, Friday, and Thursday. Today's Thursday. Monday, Thursday, Friday, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific. Facebook Live. Check out Stables Media. Facebook Live, YouTube, download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Casey will be back with us tomorrow. Please join us and take a listen to our picks and go out and make the money and run. For Charlie O, I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. Have a great afternoon. Have a great Thursday. Good luck on your wagers, and we will see you tomorrow, 4:15, live on Facebook and live on YouTube. Take care, everybody.